Hi, it's Bee with Crafting Daily Dose, and today I have another alternative for the January 2022 paper pumpkin kit called Kisses and Hugs. This one is a triple easel card, so it flips open for your message, and then these hearts slide up, and if the recipient wants to display it, they can prop the hearts up against the stopper, just like any other type of easel card. Let me show it to you like this. And here's what that would look like. Stay tuned to learn how to make this card. Here are the pieces for the card. I'm going to be cutting up an envelope again. Actually, if you watched my other alternative, I'm using some leftover envelope pieces from that because I don't need very much. I'm choosing the Very Vanilla card base from the kit, but you could equally use the Blushing Bride one as well. This has 3 panels, and you only need to select one of these hearts to cut out. I'm adding 3 pieces of Very Vanilla cardstock. This is just the regular weight of cardstock, not the thick version. The largest piece is 4 1/4 inches across by 7 1/2 inches in height, and it's been scored at 1 7/8 of an inch and at 3 3/4 of an inch. The medium piece is 2 7/8 inches wide by 5 inches in height. It's been scored at 1 1/4 and at 2 1/2. And the smallest piece is 2 3/8 of an inch by 4 inches in height, scored at 1 inch and 2 inches. I'm using these 2 heart die cuts from the kit, and I'm going to use a second one of the Blushing Bride as well as the vellum. I don't know if you can see that. Now these 2 are decorative, not structural, so you can change these out to anything that you want if you don't want to use up 2 of the same thing on a project. I'm using this piece, but I'm just fussy cutting out the heart from it. We've got our pieces, and now we're ready to get started. We need to prepare these 3 cardstock pieces by folding them and creasing very well. So I'm going to show you on this one. I've got my 2 sets of score lines here, and I'm going to go ahead and fold it as a mountain fold. And another one. Now, even though I reinforced that with my bone folder, you can see from the side that it doesn't want to sit all the way down. For this design, your card is going to fold a lot more nicely if these creases are really flexible. Even though I've just folded that as a mountain fold, I'll go ahead and reverse it. It's a valley fold now, away from me. And then I'll flip it back and do the original direction. And now you can see that it sits a lot more nicely, and it doesn't want to pop up as much. Now these measurements were made for the specific pieces that I showed you. So this one is for the Blushing Bride, this one is for the Flirty Flamingo piece, and then this one is for the heart from the card base. If you want to do any stamping on top of these hearts to decorate them, you would want to do that before you glue them onto the cardstock. Let me show you how I got these measurements in case you want to change it up and use different pieces. So basically, these pieces are the same width as the widest parts of the heart, and when they're folded over in half, they are the same height as the tip of the heart up to this little valley here. So it's meant to go together like this. So if you're using a different size heart, you want to match up the width. You want the total height of the piece to be twice the height from this tip to this tip right here. Your score lines are going to be in half this way, so that now those heights are matched up. And then you're going to need one additional score line that is halfway between here and here, so that your piece can sit like this. So now what I need to do is to glue each heart onto this bottom flap here. So I'm only putting adhesive along this section. I'm doing my best to center the heart there and keep it straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold up this easel while the glue sets, just in case there's any glue back here accidentally. I don't want it to end up sticking. So let it set like this. Now for this piece, one of the sides is already kind of squared off, and so we want to sort of center it because we're going to end up squaring off the other side as well. If you get any extra glue down in this area, don't worry about it because you'll see in just a second that we're going to trim that off. Once my pieces have been glued on, I'm going to go ahead and trim around the excess. Now, because this large heart came from a panel of 3, one of the sides is going to be a little bit straightened out. So I'm going to trim this side just a little bit too to make it kind of match more. And then I will round down those corners a little bit. So each heart is going to open like this. I'm not choosing to stamp inside of my hearts, but if you wanted to, now would be the time to do that. So this larger heart in particular, if you want to, you can maybe stamp a sentiment or a design up on this flap. And this is also the flap where you're going to be writing your message. Here's a piece of the envelope that I have left over from my other project. It had come from this panel right here on the envelope. You can see that it's decorated all the way on the inside. So it's really useful because you can get a lot out of just one envelope. So I've trimmed down the sides here just to make it a little bit neat. And now I want to cut it so that I get 2 rows of these X's and O's. So I'm going to line this right here with my trimmer. It's going to be right about there. That looks good. And I'll go ahead and cut. I'm using my darker blade, which is for cutting. So that's what I have so far. And now I'm going to cut below the second line of X's and O's. Now, when you're cutting thinner paper like this, if your blade is not as fresh or as sharp and you're having trouble getting the cut started, then instead of trying to push against that thin paper from the edge, what I would do is go ahead and place the guide down with the blade somewhere in the middle of your cut. And from there, you're going to press down into the paper, and now you can go in both directions. Your blade edge is not going to meet as much resistance that way, and it will be a little bit easier to do. I can save this, and now I'm going to take my cutting blade out of the way, and I'm going to score instead. And what I want to do is score at 1 inch and at 7/8 of an inch from both ends. And I'm using the measurements on the right-hand side of my trimmer for that. So 1 inch, and I'll pull it back a little bit to 7/8 of an inch. I'll flip it over to the other side. Again, 1 inch and 7/8 of an inch. Once your score lines are in, you're going to go ahead and fold them. So the set of 2 inner score lines are going to be mountain folds. So I'm folding away from me. And then the 2 sets of outer score lines are going to be valley folds towards me. So this creates a little pleat if you look at it from the side. Now I've created a banner, and I'm going to cut little fishtails onto the ends. Now my banner is ready to use. And finally, I cut out the heart from this piece, and we're ready to assemble. I'm going to glue my hearts nested inside one another. So starting with the smallest one, going to turn it around and put glue on the back. I'm lining up those bottom tips, and I'm trying to center it horizontally as best as I can. Now I'll put glue on the back of this medium heart. Now the smallest heart is going to go down here. That's going to be our stopper. And let me see how I want this to be. I think that's a pretty good position right there. I'm going to use those mini dimensional foam stickers from the kit. I've set my main card aside and now I'm going to assemble these two pieces. Now this is vellum, which is non-porous, and so I'm not going to use glue because glue tends to dry just as a slick patch on top and you can peel it right off usually. So instead I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal. You can also use tear and tape or the glue dots here. And now I'm going to put some more Stampin' Seal on the back of this piece. Now since this die cut is covering up most of the vellum, I don't have to worry about any adhesive on the vellum showing through. So I can put Stampin' Seal anywhere that's going to be covered up by the Blushing Bride piece. And now we just need to put the banner on with a little bit of foam. You can use the mini dimensional foam stickers from the kit or regular size dimensional stickers if you want. I'm going to use my foam adhesive sheet that I have cut down to be the right size. I like to use this because it's just one piece of backing to peel off instead of multiple, but they're all the same thickness, so they're interchangeable and you can use whichever you prefer. Going to put it right here in the middle. I'll leave some room on the ends because when the card is pressed flat into the envelope, these can sort of retract to the middle, and so I don't want the foam bumping up against that. Before I put it on, I'm going to put my card into the easel position so that I can maximize how much of this gets seen. I'm just trying to think here. Right about there. So here's our finished card. There is some dimension on the front with that banner, and of course all the magic happens on the inside. You can flip up this panel and have room to write your message, and then these hearts slide up and they can be assembled into an easel shape. Let me show you what it looks like from the front. I think that's pretty fun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this dose of creativity. If you get a chance to try out the project, I would love to see it. You can find the link to my Facebook group in the description box below. And you can also find a subscription link if you're interested in Paper Pumpkin and don't have a demonstrator yet. I hope to see you the next time, and until then, have a great day.